Hello everybody, this is Bird Brain, where here we are nerdy for the birdies. The Philadelphia Eagles have made a shocking trade today, not so much in terms of the player they acquired, but more so in terms of the position they went after. They traded Harrison Bryant, the tight end, and a draft pick in exchange for John Metchie of the Houston Texans and a draft pick. And basically the draft capital is just swapping back the capital from the C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Kenyon Green trade. The real talk here is the acquisition of John Metchie, who's a wide receiver, played at Alabama, former teammate of Devontae Smith. Very solid player, has mostly been like that wide receiver for the Texans. It's a shame because he was drafted to have a bigger role for the team, and then he got hurt, and he had dealt with leukemia, and then afterwards, they drafted Tank Dell, they had Nico develop, and now they have other receivers, and he just kind of fell down the depth chart. And he's been kind of one of those guys that a lot of people have been looking at the Texans to trade. Obviously now, they made the trade, so what does that mean for the Eagles? So, starting with the Harrison Bryant angle, I think it's pretty obvious. He just wasn't going to make the team. He's had an extremely quiet summer, and, it was a signing that I was actually interested in when it happened, but just haven't heard much from him, haven't really seen him in the games, and, at this point, if you have guys on the roster aren't going to make the team and someone comes calling about them, you trade them. Get free picks, get a free player, figure it out. I think the bigger angle about this is, what does this mean for the receiving room? So let's get the obvious out of the way. AJ and Devontae are untouchable, right? Like, they're both gonna make the team. I think Dotson's obviously making the team. I think he's the next guy up. Now it comes down to the depth receivers. I think Johnny Wilson has pretty much solidified his spot. I thought he's had a really solid summer and a solid preseason. Now it comes down to Metchie being your fifth receiver, which that's a solid fifth receiver to have. The question is, are the Eagles keeping a sixth, and who is that sixth? And the top two candidates obviously are Aniyah Smith and Darius Cooper, and there's been a lot of buzz about Darius Cooper over the last couple of weeks. His training camp, the preseason game against the Bengals, and then you have Aniyah Smith, who was the draft pick and didn't have a great camp last year, but he's had a solid summer this year, and he's developing as a punt returner. He had a nice return against the Bengals. He has had a touchdown in each of the two preseason games. So the question is now, who is the guy that's the odd man out? Because it's very unlikely the Eagles are going to keep 7 receivers. So you have AJ, Devontae, and Dotson is 1, 2, and 3. Johnny Wilson's likely your 4. Metchie's 5. If you keep a 6, it's one of those two. You're not keeping 7, most likely. I mean, it's possible, but unlikely. And I think it says a little more about Darius Cooper than it does about Aniyah Smith. And the reason is that John Metchie, like Darius Cooper, doesn't really play special teams. He's not really he's not a returner or anything like that. I don't know if he's played on teams in terms of just tackling units and whatnot. We've seen Darius Cooper try to get reps there. The Eagles are trying to get him involved on special teams to give him better chances of making the roster. I know he had a bad miss on special teams on yesterday during the game against the Browns that led to a bigger return. And, I wonder if the Eagles are kind of looking at it, it's like, alright, he may not have much special teams value for us. He's purely just a good receiver. And John Metchie might be in the same mold. And trading for a guy that's like that, you're not really going to keep 2 of those guys as 5th and 6th receivers because you don't have a punt returner. And I don't think the Eagles want Cooper DeJean to punt return. You look at Aniyah Smith, I would say Darius Cooper is a better receiver than Aniyah Smith, but I think Aniyah Smith brings more to the roster because of his ability to return. Now, this could be made moot, and the Eagles get someone who returns, punts in the next couple of days by adding, a random corner or something. I don't know, but it's one of those things where you do have to think about it. So I think both of them, you kind of start raising that flag, you raise your eyebrows, and you start saying, okay, one of these two is probably not making the team, so it'll be very interesting to see how these next couple of days go at camp. If Darius Cooper continues to get snaps with the ones, maybe the Eagles are looking to keep both Cooper and Metchie. If not, it's probably going to be Aniyah and Metchie, because I don't think they're going to cut Metchie after just trading for him. So Anyway, that's just my thoughts. I'd love to hear yours down below. Anyway, this is Bird Brain. Hope you guys enjoyed being nerdy today. Fly, Eagles, fly, and see you around.